Sophie adjusted her backpack and stepped onto the bus, just like she did every morning. Her earphones were in, and her eyes searched for an empty seat by the window. As she slid into her usual spot, she saw him again, the boy with the sketchbook. He always sat a few rows ahead, his head tilted slightly as his pencil moved across the page. Today, curiosity got the better of her. Sophie leaned forward and stole a glance at his sketches, city buildings, faces of strangers, and once, a very detailed drawing of an old couple sitting on a park bench. She smiled, impressed by his talent. Just then, the bus jerked forward, and Sophie lost her balance. Before she could fall, a strong hand grabbed her arm. "You okay?" The boy's voice was deep but gentle, cutting through the bus noise. Sophie blinked and looked up. It was him, the boy with the sketchbook. "Yeah, thanks," she stammered, feeling embarrassed. "I'm Jake," he said with a lopsided grin before turning back to his notebook. The next morning, Sophie saw Jake glance her way. Their eyes met briefly, and then he moved his bag off the seat beside him. It was a silent invitation. She hesitated, then took the seat. "Hey," he greeted, his sketchbook still open. "Hey," she replied, awkwardly holding onto her coffee. Curiosity stirred inside her. "What do you always draw?" Jake's face lit up as he tilted the sketchbook towards her. "Random stuff. Just things I notice." Sophie admired his drawings. "You're really good." "Thanks," he muttered, a little shy now. From that day, mornings felt different. Their conversations started small but grew deeper over time. Jake talked about how he loved drawing but felt pressured to study engineering because of his parents. Sophie opened up too, sharing how hard it was to balance school and work. They understood each other in a way that made mornings brighter. One rainy morning, Sophie stepped onto the bus, shivering and drenched from the cold. She had forgotten her umbrella. Before she could say anything, Jake unzipped his hoodie and draped it over her shoulders. "Can't have you freezing," he said with a wink. Sophie blushed. "Thanks." She sat quietly, the warmth from his hoodie spreading inside her. After that day, her heart always beat faster when she saw him. He was more than just a boy on the bus now. He was someone who noticed her, who made her feel seen. And each morning, Jake always had a seat saved for her, as if it had always been hers. Their conversations became natural. They teased each other about movies. "You're seriously telling me you've never watched The Breakfast Club?" Sophie asked in disbelief. Jake laughed. "Hey, I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That counts, right?" "Barely," she teased, grinning. One morning, she climbed onto the bus, her hands shaking from the cold. Jake handed her a steaming cup of coffee. "Hazelnut latte," he said. "Thought you could use it." Sophie stared at the cup, surprised. "You remembered. You mentioned it once. I figured you'd like it." Her heart swelled. Little things like that weren't random. Days passed, and Sophie started noticing Jake's little habits, the way he tapped his pencil when thinking, the way dimples formed when he laughed. One morning, she saw him outside the bus window, standing in the rain without a jacket. Worried, she ran off the bus towards him. "Jake, what are you doing?" "Missed the bus," he admitted with a sheepish grin. "You'll get sick like that." Without thinking, Sophie removed her scarf and wrapped it around his neck. Jake froze, surprised. "You didn't have to." "I know," she said, smiling. "But I wanted to." The way he looked at her in that moment, like she was something special, stayed with her all day. Then one morning, everything changed. As Sophie stepped onto the bus, she overheard Jake talking to his friends. "She's cool, but it's nothing serious," he said casually. Sophie froze. The warmth she felt for weeks vanished. She quietly found a seat by the window, staring blankly outside. For the next few days, she avoided him. When he looked her way, she pretended not to notice. When he tried to catch her after class, she walked faster. The seat beside him on the bus remained empty. And she missed him more than she expected. One evening, as she reached home, she found a folded note on her doorstep. It was a drawing of her, smiling, hair tucked behind her ear, eyes bright. Below it, Jake had written, "I'm sorry. Please talk to me." The next morning, she hesitated at the bus stop, heart pounding. When the bus arrived, Jake stood by the door, relief flooding his face when he saw her. "Hey," he said softly. "I was hoping you'd show." She crossed her arms. "So, I'm nothing serious, huh?" Jake winced. "I didn't mean it like that." My friends were teasing me, and I panicked. He sighed. The truth is, you're the best part of my mornings. I just didn't know how to explain that without sounding weird. Sophie's frustration softened. You're an idiot. Jake smiled faintly. I know, but I meant every word in that note. For the first time in days, Sophie smiled. Yeah, it helps. After that, things returned to normal, but now, something felt different. Their smiles lasted longer. Their conversations felt warmer. Their glances carried unspoken words. One evening, Jake stopped outside a small art gallery. I want to show you something. Inside, Sophie froze. Hanging on the wall was a drawing of her, not just her face, but her thoughtful expression, captured in pencil strokes. You put this in a gallery. I wasn't going to, Jake admitted. But my professor encouraged me. And, well, you're kind of my best work. Sophie's heart swelled. Jake, this is amazing. You're amazing, he corrected. She reached for his hand. I'm really glad I sat with you that day. Me too. But one morning, Jake seemed nervous. He fidgeted with his backpack zipper. There's an art program in New York, he finally said. Just a few months, but it's a big deal. Sophie's stomach dropped. That's amazing. You should go. I don't know, I'd miss this. She forced a smile. You have to do this. It's what you've always wanted. I know, Jake said, eyes soft. But you're what I want too. The morning he left, Sophie met him at the bus stop. Call me every day, she whispered. Every day, he promised. As his bus pulled away, Sophie smiled through her tears. Because no matter the distance, some people are worth waiting for. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to watch more interesting videos.